Oh, hey there. Sorry about that. I cut on live and I forgot because I'm looking where I'm going. So I forgot I cut on the live. But hello, hello, hello. Let me give you time to come in still. And how are my babies? How are you? Hmm. Turn it here. How are you doing? So really quickly, before I stop again, I'm going to talking about the reset, new Earth versus old Earth after death. Anyway, let not your hearts be troubled with the current situation that goings on. And I don't know, like sometimes people listen to things like a year later. So just for a reference point, today is September 17th, 2025, and there were some events that happened the week before that shook the world. Okay, there were some events that took place. Now, right now, as you're listening, you already know because it's brand spanking new. But if somebody happens to hear this next year, I'm just giving a date so people will know what I'm talking about. September 10th, 2025, there was an event that happened publicly that traumatized a lot of people who watched it, okay? Because I haven't watched it. I don't want to look at it. And who traumatize people, and it's causing a reset. I'm seeing the reset actually happen. I already knew that the reset was in place, but now I'm actually seeing this reset. Yeah. Now, what I want to talk about is I always wonder what generation will come after Gen Z. The people who are now in their 20s, 25, you know, to be exact. The people who are now 25 who was born in 2000, I believe those were Gen Zs, right? The people between what 2000 to 2020 are Gen Zs, I believe, right? Because I think the generations is like 20 years apart, right? Like Generation X, I think is 1960 to 1980, right? So I think it's like 20 years apart, and it's like even numbers. It's not like 2005 to 2025 or 1985, but it's like 1980. So I don't know what the 1900s were. I don't know what that was called, but it looks like a reset is going back to the generation probably before the silent generation, right? But that is a reset that's going to be for the old earth. That's a reset that's going to be for the old earth. And that's why I say with all this stuff happening, try not to get too involved in the shenanigans. Try not to let it get to you. If it's something that's going to get to you other than entertainment purposes only, if it's going to make you feel some kind of way, stay away from it. I suggest because um, it's we got to be careful of allowing things to trigger our emotions. This would be a good time to get as much as therapy as possible, and I'm talking about for anybody, for everybody, because you want to be right for the new earth. You want to be right for the new earth. You don't want to be broken with it for the new earth. You don't want to be broken. You want to be pretty much complete. You want to be pretty much whole. You want to be whole, okay? You want to be enlightened. So this situation right here and what their agenda is, I see clearly what it is. They're going back to the Old Testament, and I know some Christian women don't get that how badly women suffered in the Old Testament because that's not what they had to go through. But like movies like Stoning of Sanaya M and how a lot of those Middle Eastern women were treated is what will what might be happening, because that looks like that's part of the reset. Okay, women getting stoned and things like that. They get raped, but instead of like, but you see, you still see in third world areas, you still see women suffering like that. Though it's like nothing has ever changed in some of those areas, right? Nothing has ever changed. So they talking about a reset as far as the history of the United States. Reset as far as the history of the United States of America. The reset. Um, because I always wonder, what generation is coming after the Generation Z? After the Gen Z, what generation is it going to be after it? And it was what is the millennial? Were the millennials actually Generation Y, but they were called millennials, but they were actually Generation Y? So I'm from Generation X. And a generation before me were the boomers, and a generation before that were the silent generation. And I don't know what the generation was called before that. So that let me know American history is not as old as I think we would think it is. What I think, how old is it? Like 200 something years old. I don't know. I'm not that great at history. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm not that great at history. 200 something years old. So, so that's why I always wondered what generation was coming after Generation Z. And the answer is it's going to be a reset. There's going to be a reset. I don't know if any generation is coming afterwards. It's going to be a reset. I want to talk about something interesting. And if you pass away at this time, what's to come? From my experience, it's not too good. But definitely, I don't even want to call it shadow work anymore. It's just time to go and get rid of it. Let the shadow go. Like release the past. It's time to let the shadow go. So basically, what I'm saying is, wherever you end up, whatever world you end up in, whatever plane of existence you end up in, will have a lot to do with what's in your heart. And honestly, what's in your heart might not be something that you have personally done to some other people. It can be what you have taken in. A lot of the stuff that's in your shadow a lot of that baggage, for some people, a lot of that baggage don't even belong to you. So at this point, this is why I'm not too much into celebrating people's unaliving. And I'm not talking about a recent person who passed. I know this person might have been controversial. I'm not talking about them, but I'm talking about just in general celebrating somebody's passing away. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Aside from that person, because I know that person might have said something that was that some people really, really didn't like. But aside from that, anytime you stand your ground, a lot of people don't like it. And the thing about that is that when you're no longer a people pleaser, when you are no longer a people pleaser, and you just take care of your best interests without stepping on other people, like without hurting other folks. If do treat people how you want to be treated, kind of thing. So without stepping on other people or stealing from other people to get there, especially when you're not in a position where you're homeless and you're starving, but at the point of having high self-worth, this is a good time for some of us to have high self-worth, because some of the stuff that's in our shadow, some of the karma that we are carrying, it came from other people. It's not even ours. It came from other people. So it's a time to have some high self-worth, to know your worth, and have a commanding type of energy and a commanding presence, and demand respect. And it's not even about earning respect. I mean, who earns respect? Unless you're in the military, you have to earn the respect of a sergeant. If you're a worker, a employee, you have to earn the respect of a supervisor. You have to work up yes, I get in certain positions, you have to work up to a level of respect when it comes to a rank, right? When it comes to a rank, and that even goes with being initiated into something, right? That even goes with the church. You have to earn the respect that an elder gets. You have to earn the respect that a preacher might get. And I'm not talking about some of these preachers today, but I'm just saying, you have to earn the respect when it comes to a rank. But when I'm talking about just general respect, as it the way you should treat another human being, that should be something that's ingrained. And if it's not ingrained, there's a problem. Because like say if your name is Tiffany, and you prefer for your name to be named Tiffany, but in somebody else, you can tell them 20 million times you want your name to be pronounced Tiffany. But they come and say, well, I like Tiffany. I like Tiffany. Tiffany. I like to say it like that. Tiffany. Well, you like Tiffany. Unless they have some kind of accent where it's hard to pronounce that name, because they have a strong accent that makes it hard to pronounce that name the American way. That's disrespectful. They're not respecting your wishes. I had a recent situation with my family where I had a nickname for a long time. I was called a nickname until I realized that nickname that was given to me actually was mounted on my consciousness. That was an actual being, and it was a demonic being on top of that was mounted in my consciousness. And I did not want to be called that nickname anymore, because I realized that's just not in your name that came out of anywhere. That's an actual entity that was mounted on me, that's been a part of me my whole doggone life. And it was a part of my shadow. And I did not want to be called that name anymore. And I explained that to them, and they kept calling me that name. And so I never talked to them since. I haven't talked to them since. See, I don't have to earn for somebody to call me by my real name. I say, I don't want to be called by that nickname, and you call me by that nickname. I don't have to earn the respect to be called by my doggone name that's on my doggone birth certificate. Why should I have to earn that respect? See, that's what I'm talking about. And it's time to have a high level of self-worth, because I am not obligated to carry your karma. I've been carrying a lot of what's in my shadow. I had a dream one time, and I don't want to get into that because I don't want to take too much. I don't want to spend any extra minutes on this video, but I'll get into it. I had a dream one time, basically, long story short, that a lot of stuff, the baggage that I kept seeing in my dream was not mine. There was a little bit, tiny little piece that was mine, and the rest belonged to somebody else. The rest belonged to somebody else. See, that is a problem with some low self-worth. And I'm just going to call myself out on this. I don't care. I'm going to call myself out on it. That is a problem with low self-worth. I'm not obligated to take anybody else's karma and be stuck on old earth and be stuck in hell. I don't know if anybody can see that this is hell or not, but that's what it is. I don't know if anybody can see that. I mean, because there's no truth. There's hardly anybody telling the truth. There's all a bunch of deception. I find that to be hell. And look at the weather: tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards. That's hell. Like, that's not any kind of. That's hell. It might not be the lowest part of hell that you can be in. It's not the lowest hell that you can exist in, but it's hell. It is hell, and I don't mean hell as far as you're experiencing hell. I'm talking about this. Actually, the realm is hell. Like, it's hell. That's the realm. You know, but anyway, yeah, for me, I need to work on my self-worth, and I need to, like, not care how people feel. And that's why I'm getting on celebrating somebody's demise, because you might disagree with them. But here, like, say, for example, if people are used to walking all over you, and you don't speak up for yourself, the minute you speak up for yourself, they're going to think that you're wrong. Now, I don't want to compare this situation to a person who was recently met his demise. I don't want to compare this to that person. This is not the same thing, and I don't want to talk about that person at all. Well, I did talk about do not celebrate when your enemies fall, or do not rejoice when your enemies fall. Because even when you're not even wrong, and you're acting in your best interest, and you learn to say no, and you learn to love yourself, people are going to think that you're wrong for that. People are going to think that you're wrong. And guess what? If something unfortunate happens to you, something simple happens to you, guess what? They're going to be happy. They're going to say, see, that's what you get. That's your karma. Okay, they're going to say it's your karma because you weren't a people pleaser to them. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, even if somebody was very controversial and they said a lot of nasty things, at the same time, saying that, oh, that's what they get. Wait, you got to be careful saying that, because even when you're not necessarily wrong, a lot of folks are broken, and they feel like a lot of folks are narcissistic, and they don't care about your self-worth. They don't care about self-love. They feel like it's their right to step all over people and run all over people. And when the minute you say no to them, they get upset with you. And if something unfortunate happened to you, then they celebrate your demise, even when you were in the right. That's what I'm talking about. I don't get on celebrating stuff, because you never know how things might end for you, and how people might be happy that something happened to you when you didn't hurt nobody, when you never did nothing to nobody. How somebody might celebrate something happening to you, right? But anyway, so that's all I want to say. And what else was I going to say about that? So yeah, so basically, the reset, I feel like, is going to go back to a time of the Old Testament. It's going to go back to like the old time of the Old Testament, where women were severely suppressed all over the world. They're starting all over. And the reason why, because in the old earth, there's no creativity in the old earth. They're basically going by what's going on in everybody's shadow. So they put these movies out, these slavery movies. They put these movies out over and over again: slavery, Jim Crow. And you have the Democratic Party. I'm just going to say it. You have the Democratic Party. I know that right now we're seeing the extreme right, but then the extreme left played those images over and over and over in your mind. They played it over. I get that you don't want to forget what happened to your ancestors, but when you play it over and over and over in your mind, to the point where you constantly feeling some kind of way, constantly on white supremacy as a 25-year-old, and you constantly talk about white supremacy as if you're going through it, it's one thing to remember your ancestors, but it's another thing to take it on like it's actually happening to you. And what's going to happen, it is going to happen to you, and it's going to happen during the reset that's happening right now. You're going to see everything that you keep taking on as if it's actually happening to you. Now you're going to really experience it during the reset, because now that's in your shadow. You accepted that as your experience. Instead of just saying that is your grandmother's experience, and you respect what your ancestors went through and what they went through to get you where you are. But when you take it on as something that you're dealing with right now that's something that you accepted as your reality. And that's something I always sort of pushed a lot, is accepting that as their reality. Okay? The extreme right, I already talked about the extreme right in my last live. The extreme right is extreme, look like extreme racism to me. It's unhinged, unchecked racism, and it looked like the extreme right is going back to a time where, during Christianity, where women were oppressed. That's what the extreme right is looking like to me right now. I talked about that in my last live. And I talked about in my last live, you're going to see who the real recipients of DEI was when you go back to a time during Christianity where women were severely oppressed. You're going to see the real recipients of DEI, and who were the first recipients of DEI. You're going to see it. If you're in the old earth, you're going to see it. So I say not to let your heart be troubled, because try not to be moved by a lot of stuff you see. Focus on yourself. Focus on whatever God Most High is saying to you. And when I say God and Most High, I'm not talking about a religious figure. I'm talking about who God is to you. I don't believe in telling folks who they should believe in and what they should believe in. I don't believe in that, because I believe people have their own inner knowing, and whatever their inner knowing is telling them, that's what they need to go by. If their inner knowing has been accurate to you, that's what you probably should go by. So I don't tell people what they should believe, but God or Most High, whatever that is to you, listen to that. Let that be your source, and that's it. The stuff they put on media, try not to be moved by it, because that is like putting an anchor around your ankle, like an anchor around your ankle, and like keeping you at the bottom of the ocean where you can't rise up. When they keep replaying and replaying all this stuff that's going to make you angry. Even stuff that's happening to brown women, I stopped letting that move me. Like I'm gonna stop letting that. I stopped letting that move me because it's an anchor. I said this before. Salvation is free, and salvation is free. Well, actually, you have to do the work. I don't know how free it is when you have to do the work. Like it might be free as if you don't have to spend dollars of money, but you do have to sacrifice your time. It is a sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice some of the things you love to eat, some of the things you love to watch, and not all the time. With some things that's come out, you can't watch it, right? You're going to have to sacrifice it. So I don't think salvation is necessarily free. It's free, meaning it don't cost. You don't have to pay money, but it's a sacrifice. Okay, you have to preserve your soul from a lot of stuff that's being put out there, because they're making sure that you stay in our old earth and not go to the new earth. Now, some people say this is the pole shift. Like one people are gonna be on one side of the pole after the shift continues. One people are gonna be on one side, and some people are gonna be on another side. And some people call that the pole shift. I call it. Some people say it's the splitting of old earth. The new earth is splitting away from the old earth. So I'm not going to be concerned about the behaviors of certain people. They need to deal with themselves. I'm still having to do the work on myself. I don't have time to be worried about other people. But with that being said, it's time for me to go, and I will talk later. Hello. All right.